Hey, folks, thank you and welcome to the podcast. This is episode number 1. And I am sitting here with a guy, when I first got my start in the business, was very informational with working with me and my clients. He would pick up the phone and have one-on-one conversations, answer all of my questions about finance, properties even. And I wanted to bring him and introduce him to my audience. Ronald, he's been in the financial institutions for 10 plus years. I see you were like an assistant manager at UFCU. You worked at a brokerage. And now, as an entrepreneur, you have your own mortgage brokerage. And proud father of 2 daughters, I want to introduce my friend and my go-to lender, Ronald. Tell the people your last name.
Ronald Muljadi. Andre, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Yes, 2 lovely daughters that keep me up all night. And then they're not teenagers yet, even though, so that's kind of scary. But been in the finance industry for 10 plus years. Decided to finally go on my own, and we decided to open up our own company, being a mortgage broker. And just it's exciting. The times are great. So
good. It's perfect, man. So let's go back a little bit. I want people to know who Ronald is. So outside of high school, well, first of all, where did you go to high school?
James Bowie High in South Austin. So I'm an Austinite, local.
Last of one of the Mohicans here, Austinite.
Real Austinite.
After that, graduate from high school, did you say, hey, I want to get into finances right away?
No. Went to University of Texas. Once again, Longhorn fan. Good and bad on that. But
okay.
And then after that, we actually went to a bank one day, made a deposit, and they said, hey, we're hiring. And I said, okay. So I applied, and it was actually Frost Bank, another local bank.
Nice.
I love Frost Bank. And then that started my career in finance. And then after that, just went to different institutions and went to mortgage.
So you walked in the bank and you were like, man, I can work around all this money.
It was really, it's like, I love money. And they're all friendly. And so, but they taught me a lot about finances for sure.
Good. Tell me a little bit about March 31st for you. What is that day?
That is my birthday, March 31st, 1981. I am 41 years old as this episode 1. So I don't know if I look it or not, but 41.
You just missed New Year's. Did your mom, like April Fool's? So did your mom play a trick? Like, is it really your birthday or what?
No. I was actually born late. I was supposed to be in the early part of March. So I'm glad I wasn't April Fool's. Being a kid named Ronald and on April Fool's. Come on. That's a bully right there.
All right, good. So, all right. So we talked a little bit about UT. You went into the bank. Like, what did that do for you as far as thinking about finances and money?
Sure. So being at the bank, it actually helped me a few things. And what actually opened my eyes was being around technically wealthy people making the deposit, right? You see all kinds of people though making deposits, doing withdrawals, their transactions, the way that they have their bank accounts or different types of accounts. And then, but you saw different patterns with more wealthy individuals or wealthy families or higher up there, right? And so one day and a couple of days, I just talked to a few of them and said, why did you do this? Or why do you have this open? And they would actually share. They were pretty open about it.
Wow.
And so there's reasons why now when I talk to borrowers about budgeting and what they should have, there's a reason, because I vetted those individuals that had those higher balance accounts and different types of accounts because it worked for them.
Wow.
So
that's giving real financial education, learning from a vast array of financial, just people who have money, right? Exactly. Like on the top tier, middle tier, like seeing what the rich do with their money. That's like one-on-one. You couldn't have gotten that at UT.
You can't. And then now you hear it everywhere is, okay, let me show you how to do this. But people really, you have to pay for that education, right? And I'm going to tell you, I did all the work for those 7 years at the bank, or actually 7+ years at the bank. And so I'm going to share that knowledge because nobody else is sharing that knowledge, right?
That's perfect. That's good. That's good. Let me ask you this, because now I'm curious. What was the amount that you saw someone deposit or either in their account that made you say, holy shit?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this is, privacy. We're not going to share any names.
No names, protect.
But the balances that I saw on a few particular accounts were in the upwards of $25 to $35 million. Not in one account, right? It was several accounts.
Right.
But they also had other products, lines of credit, credit cards, this and that. You don't see just random stuff, but you see important stuff that they use on their daily basis. But in turn, I will tell you, what you see more of on the lower spectrum is installment loans, right? More loans. And so that's where the spectrum was different, is what type of accounts were they doing or having versus the others. And so that's where you saw, okay, so I need to be in this. I need to get this to be in this bracket.
Like, how many NSF fees have you seen? Obviously on this side, a lot on the, lower financial education versus the higher acumen. I mean, and let me get this straight. I don't think just because you're wealthy, you're smart.
Correct.
I mean, we're in America. You can make a little tiny object and get rich off of it.
Correct.
So, but did you see any NSF fees on the higher end ever?
We did not.
Not at all.
And then I want to piggyback off that, Andre, is it's about the education. Sometimes we are not educated on that financial stuff because the banks are not there to educate. They're there to open accounts. They're there to sell you a loan, but they're not there to say, hey, let me tell you about budgeting. Hey, let me tell you about this part. This is how you can help in your daily life, because they don't make money off of that. They make money off of the NSF fees, the overdraft fees.
Yes. And
sometimes on the account, I would see for a year, thousands of dollars of overdraft NSF fees. Thousands. If the bank refunds all that, I mean, can that make a mortgage payment, a car payment, or two or three? Right? Yeah. But the banks don't share that.
No, they don't share
It's actually public record. If you go to the bank's websites or whatnot, they look at the financials. There's a section that says overdraft fees or NSF fees, and they show how much they made for the year.
Wow.
People don't pay attention to that.
I bet it's in the mega millions across institutions, like a bigger, like JP Morgan or something like that.
So they do take advantage of the uneducated.
Got it. Man, so first of all, that's good for people to have access to someone who's had that level of exposure. The other thing is, let's talk about, here's my question.
Yes, sir.
So I was told, and some principles that I actually try to practice is, hey, use your credit card through life, attach it to your bank account, and let that bank account just automatically pay that off when it's due. Is that a good principle? Should people just go around and hey, I'm going grocery shopping, use my credit card, going to the gas credit card, and then just let my account know, hey, pay that off?
100%. And here's why. And I'll piggyback off that in a minute too, but you want to use a credit card because right now companies are offering great deals. Groceries, 10 times your grocery in points or cash back. That's free money, right? And then some are offering 5 points for gas, 4 points for dining out. Take advantage of those. You want to take the perks of that. But what people don't do is pay off the balance in full when it's due. They make the minimum or maybe $100 of it. That's where statistically the banks take advantage, or the credit card companies take advantage, because they know that people's habits are not to pay it off. So yes, you want to pay it off when it's due. So that means don't spend what you don't have.
That's the key right there.
But use the credit cards, because if you can get a free hotel, a free airplane ticket, a $500 cash back at the end of the year, that's just free money for doing your daily things.
How many accounts do you recommend a person have?
Okay. So when you say accounts, you're talking about credit cards.
Well, before even credit cards, do you recommend people having multiple bank accounts?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You want to have one bank account, right? But if you can manage your money, your finances, and take control of your money, you can have more than one, because it is ideal. And I can tell you why on that one. But at the end of the day, it's about you being able to control your money and not let the money control you. Okay? Because if you let money control you, then it's just going to eat you alive. But if you can control how much money is coming in, what's going out, where it's going, that's how you become financially wealthy. I personally have about 7 different bank accounts. I hope the banks don't know about that, but I have 7 different bank accounts. I have 22 credit cards right now.
Nice.
22.
Man, that's not overkill.
My credit score is still 798.
Good.
It's not overkill. I pay it off at the end of the month. And right now we're shooting for a free trip I got a free trip to Vegas because of my credit card. I'm going to try to fly business class using my points next year. And just by spending my everyday stuff.
That's good, man. I've recently, probably for the past 5 years, adopted the principle of have multiple accounts. I have an account I got about 5 accounts. One just for my household expenses.
Sure.
So if I go to Lowe's and I need a light bulb or something, I know that this credit card is attached to that account.
Sure.
I have my business account, obviously, and my taxes, kind of set up in separate accounts. And then I have my investment account, and then my free spend account. So when you do that, you kind of know, again, my key phrase for financial independence is control your money. Don't let it control you.
Correct. But now here's the thing that people don't tell you, the banks don't tell you, is the reason you have multiple bank accounts. Yes, if you want financial control, you want to take the money from here, there, whatever you're spending and you watch it. But you want to open bank accounts where the bank or credit union offers personal lines of credit. So an individual can open a personal line of credit at any credit union or bank where they bank, and it's technically free unsecured money that works better than a credit card and is a little cheaper on interest rate. But the kicker is that the bank or credit union will only lend you the line of credit based on what you've had previously. So let's just say you have one bank account at bank A. And you start to say, okay, I want to apply. Okay, you have good credit. You have good income. We'll give you $5,000. Great. Then you wait a few months. You go to another bank. Say, hey, I want to apply for a personal line of credit. That bank is going to pull your credit and say, oh, man, this guy has $5,000 before, so he's good with that. We'll offer him $10,000. And then the next bank will go on and go on. Nobody, unless you're, Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, go in a bank and say, I want $1 million line of credit, right?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Got it.
But if you slowly build it up, different banks, and then they'll give it to you, and then in turn you go back to the one that gave you the 2 or the 5, and they'll raise it up to 15. Now they know that, oh man, he's responsible. He has all these lines of credit. The personal line of credit is the one thing that I saw in the banking world that all the affluent individuals or families had in their back pocket. And it's nothing that the bank will ever advertise to you, because it does not make the most money for the bank. The bank, when you walk in there, will say checking account, bill pay, credit card, auto loan, mortgage. You'll never see personal lines of credit being advertised.
Interesting.
So there's a reason for that. They don't want to make, or they don't make money. So why would they advertise something they don't make money on? Right?
Right.
So you, as an individual, need to tap into your great credit score, great income, and that's where the personal line of credit comes in. And here talk to real estate, Andre. If I can tell you, Andre, if you build up over years of personal line of credit and say, well, Andre, I want to buy a house, or you can buy a house for $300,000 cash. Well, I don't have the cash. Oh, no. You have lines of credit that you can withdraw to purchase that. Now you don't need approval of a mortgage broker like myself, which sucks, but you can now buy cash when nobody else can. Now you can get a better deal because you're a cash buyer versus a mortgage, close faster.
Right.
And then people tell me, well, no, but then I can't access that cash back. Yeah, you can. You can refinance that, take the money back, and pay off your line of credit.
See? Wow. And that's stuff that nobody is telling you. Nobody tells you that. And I wonder why all the valuable information is so guarded. But let me ask you this. Is there it's in conjunction with your credit or being able to get credit or your score. Is there a connection with the banks to see how much does this person hold in their account on average?
Yes and no, but usually the credit score is based on what you spend on your credit cards, right? So the bank account is mostly tied as they want to see if there's a direct deposit. So if you make deposits or you keep a high balance, then they'll lend you money, lines of credit, credit card, and all that. But for companies or institutions to lend you more money, they want to see, okay, how have you been doing? And do you pay off your balances on time? Or I'm sorry, if you pay your balances at all or on time, or what is that, right?
Okay.
And so that's how they used to see, hey, give it to you.
I felt like when I first got to the point where I was able to save like $50,000 in the bank, I feel like everybody just kind of knew and was like, oh, this guy, hey, you want more of our money or whatever? And a lot of it was the bankers that were having different conversations with me before then, when I was a guy that was living check to check, trying to avoid NSF fees. Nobody ever pulled me to the side until they saw that magic number.
Sure. So so when they see that magic number, what they're trying to do, I mean, what they want to do is, how can we make money off of it, $50,000 for this individual, right? And so what they're going to do is they're going to tell you, hey, we need to open an investment account. And then put that money into an investment, because they make money on those investments, right? And then, but you will as well. But if I'm going to tell you, okay, you can do that, or you can put a down payment on a house, and then that house is guaranteed, not guaranteed. I mean, you can't really say guaranteed, but statistically, it appreciates about 8 to 10% annually. Yeah. Especially in Central Texas, even more than that, where the stock market goes up and down, right? And so that's where you have to decide for yourself, where do I want that money to go, right? You can invest in stocks and real estate or both.
Okay. Well, and I know I keep going back to this. We haven't even talked mortgages yet, but I want like the audience to understand this. So based on the people you see, let's do a social experiment. What do you think is the biggest issue that people have with managing their credit? Is it A, they just don't make enough money, they need to get out there and figure out how to make more, or B, they don't consciously, figure out what's coming in versus what's going out? Like, what do you see that's a huge issue where people can start to work and correct it?
Definitely B. It's consciously people, they want what everybody else has, right? So here's a prime example. Money is not an issue, because I know families that make household $50,000 a year household, and they have $50,000 in the bank. But people making $250,000 a year only have $10,000 in the bank. What's the difference, right? It's the lifestyle. It's how they want to fit in. It's what they purchase. It's need versus want versus, do I really, 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 really want that, right?
Right.
That's the biggest thing. But everybody can have it if they just control their money.
Control your money.
Yep.
Yeah, we definitely need a one-on-one for controlling your money. I mean, I think they need to put that in junior high.
Yep.
And I try to teach my kids that as well.
100%.
So, okay, let's talk about like your business, right? You're part of this show, by the way, is I really like to talk to entrepreneurs. And one of the things is I like to know, when was that, for lack of it's a good term. It's my last name. When was your key moment that you said, hey, I've been working for this company, I've been making the money, it's time to do this for myself?
Let me see. That moment was probably when I was probably in college, actually. So my parents did have a restaurant growing up, like most typical Asian families, they have restaurants, right? And so my parents did have one, and technically my parents have been entrepreneurs for 30 plus years now. Wow. But then I went into the comfort zone of corporate America, right? The banking, the credit union world, went to a big retail mortgage company. And then I was comfortable. And then my wife also told me that, you're too damn comfortable. I need you to go out there. And then one day it's just clicked. I said, I should do better. And it was actually a YouTube video. I was watching Jimmy Fallon one night, and I was sitting down watching Jimmy Fallon on YouTube back when YouTube wasn't as popular, right? And a commercial came on. It was Ty Lopez. I don't know if you heard of Ty Lopez. Ty Lopez. I mean, he had flashy cars, to read a book every day. And I was like, who is this guy? And thanks to Ty Lopez, I didn't buy anything from him or anything, but I listened to a couple of his stuff, and I was like, and it just got me motivated. It took me a few years to actually open up my own company, right? To get that fear out of it. But after looking at that, after looking at Ty Lopez, that you just got to work for yourself and then doing it, making the jump, man, it's a blessing.
Has it been rewarding for you?
It's definitely been rewarding.
Yeah.
100%.
Same with me. I mean, I had the same thing when it was just like, hey, do real estate full time. We have brokers, but like I really set up my own enterprise, and it was just like, I was actually stuck like, okay, this job, like if I leave, like let them lay me off. I'll take unemployment and then I can have like a security blanket. But I mean, once you do it, like it's satisfying. Like it's, and people have that fear of failure. But if you've been in an organization or seen a system or have a knowledge of something, like it's really tough to fail or fail completely to zero flat on your ass. So
Sure. But don't get me wrong. I mean, my wife works at a corporate company, right? And she's been doing it for years too. She loves it. Some people can't, go out there and sell or something, right? They don't have something to sell. Sometimes it's not built in, or they don't have something to invent or whatnot. Yeah. But we do need, people that are actually working in corporate America because I can't build a computer, right?
Exactly.
I'm not tech support. So I can't work at Facebook because I don't know anything about that.
I don't think everybody should. We have this thing now that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, run their own business. Like, sometimes I used to tell people, I used to enroll people into college. So I was like, hey, if you're passionate about flipping burgers, go work at McDonald's. In maybe 5 years, you'll have your own chain. And then 100%. You'll have another. Like, success can come no matter where the start is. Or if you want to work somewhere and have that security and be able to retire and do what you saw, like maybe generations before you've done, like find a good job. Do your best at that place. Become the best. And so that's my thing. Like, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone should even try. Sure. Sometimes you feel that way. But at the end of the day, if you do something like me and you are passionate about working with people. So I think regardless if we flip-flopped industries or whatever, being passionate about helping people is what drove us.
Sure.
So
what I think is what people forget is what are they working for, right? So me and you were working for a family and are in our future. But in a corporate world, you can do that as well. Yeah. But the only difference is that you're limited on how much money or what your income is for a certain amount of time. Where we're entrepreneurs, we can make a little bit more or get taxed less or whatever. Yeah. But man, at the end of the day, there's a few things that you can do, even if you're working as a corporation or self-employed, is to be wealthy and to retire is real estate, right? They said that the few things that can get you wealthy in America is stocks or real estate. If you're not doing any of those two, then yes, you're working an 8-to-5 job and you have no future.
Right, exactly. Now I want to bring you to the segment that we have called Confessions of an Austin Agent. So in Confessions, I'm going to leave out like specifics about the characters so no one gets offended or upset. However, I do have a story to tell. As an agent, there's been a lot of crazy things. There was one time I had a lady and we were looking for properties in the eastern part of Austin. And as we went through houses, we went through this one home and I can tell they just made breakfast, smelling amazing, but they didn't really speak English. So somehow I got them to let us walk through the house. The house was supposed to be vacant, but the whole family was there. And so we walked through the house quickly because this was a little odd. Like the family just sat and had breakfast, but we're walking around and we go outside. We see this large shed. We look around. Wow, this is a huge shed. I wonder what they keep in it. And when we opened the door, there was 4 beds and 4 guys stood up like, oh. So, needless to say, we hurry up and left that one. I swore that I may have just saw a crime, but that was one of the crazy stories that I had as an agent. If you want to say, hey, I'll just rent for another 10 years, good luck with that. Because guess what? In 10 years, if you have a property and you have a kid that's 11, like that 10 years, 8 years can be equity that could pay for that kid's college.
Exactly. You can't get that time back.
You can't get it back. Not at all. So let's talk a little bit about mortgages, right? Like, so we'll ask a few layman's terms.
Sure.
Like, there's a lot of people out there, first-time home buyers, like hearing what's going on in the news. So here's a question you probably get the most, and I'll ask it. What are the interest rates right now?
Right now, the average interest rate is around 6.25 today.
6.25. Okay.
12/2/2022. Don't quote me, don't check it a year from now. 12/2/2022.
All right. And I mean, I hate to sound like the old guy, but like, I think in the early 2000s, I bought my first house for 6.25% interest rate.
Which is not bad.
It's not too bad.
Historically, we're still on average. This is the historical numbers, right? Mm-hmm. The reason, and this is just my opinion, but a big reason why the rates were down so historically low before is because we were going through a pandemic. How does a government build up or stimulate the economy so that people are not afraid or not thinking about a deadly disease that is killing people, right? People were stuck in their homes. What were they doing? So something to stimulate the economy is reduce down the rates. Rates when you borrow money, you get your credit card, car loan, personal loans, they were lower.
Right.
But that also trickled down to mortgages. So if you bought a house, what are you going to do? You bought a house to stimulate the economy because, construction was up or whatnot, help that. And then after that, you would buy new furniture. You buy new TV, new appliances, new clothing, right? And so that also stimulates the economy. But now we're back to okay times.
Right.
And the banks now want their money back, right? So they got to make money. Banks got to make money. So that's why the rates are the rates.
Got it. So we have the rates of where they are. And so what is a standard credit score? Like, if I wanted to buy a house, walk me through it. It's my first time. What does my credit score need to be?
Depending on the loan program, but there's programs out there at 580 or above, 620 or above, 720 or above.
Okay.
What the credit score really determines for an individual is basically their interest rate.
Okay.
So if you had a house, if you're purchasing and you had a 680 credit score and somebody else was doing the same loan scenario, but their credit score was 780, the interest rate would be better for the 780, right?
Of course, right.
But the qualifications, most likely going to be the same, So what you want to get is the best rate possible based on the best loan scenario for that individual.
Okay. And I know the answers to these questions, so I feel funny asking you, but I think every year I ask the same questions over and over just to make sure like nothing's changed from prior. So what is the minimum amount? I'm not military. What is the minimum amount that I can use to put down to buy my first home?
For a conventional loan, it's 3%.
Nice.
So you can purchase a house at 3% down. The next one is 3.5%, an FHA government loan. Now, we're in Central Texas, right? Central Austin, and there's no USDA loans out there. Here.
It's all built up. No, you got to go pretty far.
Right? If you want to drive an hour away, sure. There's
right.
USDA where there's zero down payment, right?
Okay.
So if you have some money saved up, versus renting or buying a house and you have money saved up, man, it's a long-term investment. That's what you got to treat it as.
I feel like you can put down 50%. You can put down as much as you want, but I feel like the lower amount that you can put down, then there's more control over that loan. Like there's more, it's PMI, it's this, and you can't pay us off early. Like there's more restrictions.
Yes and no. Okay. So there's a debate on that, right? And once again, whatever I say is my personal opinion.
Okay.
And I can tell, and I'm not afraid to share my financials. My wife knows I share with all of my borrowers. I don't care. If you want to know about my financials, I'll tell you everything I
hope
do.
So, man. I don't want your wife coming to look after for me and say, hey, you have my husband up there. He must have been drunk.
I am an open book because I lived it all, right?
Okay.
So if somebody tells me, Ronald, I want to buy a house, I said, great. So they say, I want to put 20% down. I say, why? Well, because I don't want to pay mortgage insurance. Why? I said, because that's just waste of money. Okay. And I asked him, what do you want to do in 5 years? Well, I probably want to own another piece of real estate. Okay. Why 5 years? Because, it's going to take me a while to get down payment again. Okay. So what if I told you put 5% down on your new home? Yes, you pay mortgage insurance, but your credit score is pretty great. So your mortgage insurance may only be $50, depending on the loan amount, whatever, right? It's just a number. And so, but now you don't have to wait 5 years to buy your investment property. you may only have to wait 2 years. So now you use that money to buy an investment property in 2 years, where now you save that 3 years of appreciation time and only wasted what, $50 a month times 5 years? That's what, $6,000? I don't know.
Man, it's
right?
small. Like, so just to make sure we get it right, you're saying, hey, why leverage all your capital in one house or a majority of it when you're already financing a loan? Okay, yeah, you have PMI, but would you rather pay $150 a month on PMI or have another $15K still in your bank? Exactly. Ready for another purchase.
Because people say, well, I want to start investing, right? They don't think about investing until they purchase their first house. That's that's wrong. You should think about, what do I want to do in the next 10 years, right? And so if my goal is to own property, then how do I get to maximize the amount of property I get within that 10 years? You put all your eggs in one basket in your first house, that's not maximizing, right?
Right.
I could tell you, you spend 3% down on a small house at $200,000, and 6 months later you do 5% down on a $250,000, and then 6 months later you do 5% down on a $300,000, and then so on and so forth. Right. You could have 10 houses in 10 years instead of maybe only 2 or 3 in that same span, right?
Right.
Because it's harder, and I don't know, it's hard for me to say 20% down to buy an investment, right? That's a big amount.
That's a big amount.
But 5% is not bad.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I do tell people this, like if you're an investor right now and you want to get a long-term property and you say, hey, Andre, I want to put 20% down, like with 6.5 or 7% interest rate.
Sure.
Like, what can I do to make money right away? Like, I want income right away. And I'm going to tell them with 20% down, you're probably going to be feeding that investment vehicle. But hey, it's just like, hey, where can you put your 20% down, feed it and have it grow, and also get like, work towards getting that dividend, that cash flow monthly. If you want an immediate cash flow, like I looked at the numbers, you have to put at least 50% down.
Exactly. So why do that? And that's once again the misconception, because everybody listens to everybody else, right? It's like, well, I got cash flow and I'm making cash flow. But you got to understand, when did that individual buy the house? Was it when the Austin prices were at $200,000, right? So what your long-term goal is if you lose $100 or $200 a month, but the house appreciates tenfold or whatever amount over 5 years, 10 years, that's going to wipe out that $100, $200 loss.
Yeah.
Because also that loss, it can be a write-off. I'm not CPA, but you can ask your accountant, hey, can I write this loss off?
Yeah, there you go.
Right? So people tell me, I want to make $100 cash flow. Man, an AC breaks, you're going to lose that $100 cash flow anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to get that mindset off. Is investors. So
grab the asset.
Because true real estate investors, they don't care about rate, payment, all that. They care about how much money, is this a good deal? How much money am I going to make over the long haul? Because this is an investment.
Right.
That's why hard money lenders are out there and they're doing great. Non-qualified mortgages, non-traditional loans are out there doing self-employed P&L loans, not doing traditional high rates. They're doing great right now. Why? Because true real estate investors don't look at rate. They look at, what is the long-term benefit for me? Am I going to make money? Right?
Yeah.
That's what they look at. So.
Yep. I like that. Let's see. Let me look here really quick. I get questions all the time, and so I'm just trying to put them in perspective. But let's say we talked about what kind of credit score you need. We talked about down payments. And all of that is subjective to your goals. Like, you definitely have to have a conversation with a mortgage broker. What's the difference between a mortgage broker or loan broker and just going directly to your bank?
Sure. So I get that question asked a lot. The biggest difference is that when you go to your own one retail bank, it's one rate, one loan scenario, one situation, one company.
Right.
But then, do they have the best rate? Maybe not. Maybe they do, maybe not. Or their underwriting guidelines are stricter than most or whatnot. You don't know that. Whereas a mortgage broker, we are a Good Faith Mortgage. We actually work with over 20 different lenders. And so maybe one day, one lender is offering the best rate because they want to steal the market that day. And so they offering the best rate, boom, you take advantage of that. And when I'm talking best rate, I'm talking best rate in the nation, right? And so we get to help the borrower get the possible rate based on their loan situation at that time. And so we're not just limited to just that one retail company.
Got it. So you can shop that around and find.
Shop it around.
That's good. And that's the American way. Like, shop it around. See, if you go buy a car, some people may go to the first place, but some people may Google it, look, hey, what's the best place to get this same vehicle?
Exactly.
Like, who's going to give me the best price, the best rate? But you could do that for them as opposed to just going to one bank.
And actually it takes about 10 minutes of my time where you can, but then you would have to apply at this bank and this bank, get pull credit here, pull credit here, get pull credit here. And then you may not get the best rate there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where
Let's talk about that other part. Pull credit here. That's one of the other like stalls or drawbacks I get. Like, oh, is he going to pull my credit? And I worked hard to get like a 690. I don't want anybody to pull my credit.
Sure.
Like, what's wrong with that way of thinking?
So it's been embedded to us, right? And once again, this is my opinion, but it was embedded to us because we didn't want competition. So I'm going to tell you, back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, and say, Andre, want to put your credit, don't go shopping around. Your credit's going to go low.
Right.
Why? Because maybe my rate sucked. And so I don't want you to go shopping me. So I'm going to tell you, Andre, don't do that. Right. But pulling credit within the first 30 days, it's not a big deal. You can have multiple, because you want to shop around. Right.
Right.
That's where I decided to go to a mortgage broker, because your credit, I pull only once, but I get to look at other banks and investors to see who has offer rates.
Right.
So I don't have to put your credit 20 times. So that's the advantage right there. But getting your credit pulled when doing a mortgage, definitely it's not a bad thing. Now, when you get a credit card or car loan, that's kind of different. Now they're pulling your credit maybe 20 times, 25 times on a car loan trying to get you approved. So that does ding you more, right? Yeah. But mortgages, not as much.
What's the biggest ding you can get? Like, okay, you get a hard pull and you pull it 30 days and then another 30 days you have somebody else pull it. Like, what's the worst case scenario?
So that's going to vary on the situation. Like for me, for example, I'll use me as an example. I have I don't know. I have a lot of lines of credit. I really do. I could share that in another podcast, but
just share some of that credit, man. Let's go out to lunch next.
So I will tell you this. Okay. This is a milestone. This is one of my goals that I wanted to reach, probably 10 years ago. And I finally reached it after 9 years. Okay. So my goal back then, I said, okay, after I listened to Ty Lopez, I said that my goal is trying to get lines of credit and much credit as I can get. And so after a few weeks ago, I hit the $1 million line of credit mark.
Wow, that's nice.
So with all my credit cards and my lines of credit, I have over $1 million. So that means that if I wanted to buy 5 houses at $200,000, I could buy $500,000 cash right now, right? It didn't happen overnight. It takes time. So that's what I'm saying. It's when the credit, I know people are sensitive about their credit, but what I want to ask them is, okay, if you have good credit, then what is it for if you don't use it?
Yeah.
So it's fun is people have great credit. It's, I don't want you ding it. I don't want to apply for it. I don't want to use it. Then what's the point of having good credit?
What you work for?
What do you work for then, right? So people with bad credit, well, they want to use it. Well, we know you can't use. That's the
they want to use it and bail on it.
So
I ran up a $20,000 credit card and didn't pay. You fool! Now you got to pay somehow.
Pay that. But I tell people, if you have good credit, if you don't use good credit, then it's just a waste.
It's a waste.
It's a waste of something that is given to you.
You build up to a 700 credit score, 800 credit score, and you don't want anybody to pull it. Like, how can you utilize it?
So it surprises me that people have 800 credit score and they have one auto loan and one credit card. And that's it. I'm like, well, I don't need anything. I know you don't need anything. But if I can offer you a free hotel ticket or a vacation for a week just by you spending daily stuff, why not?
Yeah.
They don't realize that.
People's psychology behind money is a little, however it's formed, it's formed. But some people got to stand in comfort.
I want to take advantage of my 798 credit score.
I get it. I mean, that's a benefit right there. If you work hard to get it, utilize it. Just use it responsibly.
Knock on wood, though. I still have it.
So I wanted to kind of circle back to a home buyer, right?
Sure.
So we talked about the down payment. We talked about credit score. We even talked a little bit about investments. Let's talk about some terms. APR, like that's one of those terms that, hey, the interest rate is 6.25%, but the APR is blah, blah, blah. Like what is that?
So the annual percentage rate. So something back in the government made this up, right? Not made it up, but they said, okay, we have to disclose to the bar and confuse them even more that what they're paying on an annual percentage rate basis, meaning, okay, if your note rate is 5%, it is 5% for 30 years fixed,
right,
if it is. But what the government wants you to know is, what are you paying for the first year, that annual percentage rate year, in finance charges? Meaning, is there any interest that you're paying for the first year that is aside from the 5%? Is there any fees, lender fees? It could be the title fees. Any fees that the government says, this is your finance charges. So that number increases that APR above the note rate. It can never go below the note rate because you're paying 5% interest. So that's interest as part of the APR. But then any other charges that's considered finance for the first year. So if you bought down the rate, a buy down rate, if you pay 1% of the buy down rate, now that's calculated into your interest, it raises the APR.
Look, can you, besides buying down a rate or doing anything, like, can you control what your APR is?
By just shopping your mortgage broker.
No, just shopping.
Yeah, because the APR, once again, they're determined on the fees. So if one broker, retail institutions, their lender fees are $2,500, but the other one is $1,000. That's controlling your APR.
Man, that APR formula you just named it just sound like you took me through some high level algebra. So all I know is that, hey, if I can make it lower, try to make it lower. If not, like, just don't worry about it. Just get the property.
At the end of the day, the government said we need to educate our borrowers to show how much they're truly paying. But what it really did is confuse them with just rum numbers and random numbers.
I'm also confused by PMI. Like, what is that for? Private mortgage insurance.
It's the way, okay, so private mortgage insurance is big money out there too. If I had money, I'd be a private mortgage insurance company, I'll be honest. But so it actually protects the lender from default in case you do default. That's all it is. It's just insurance on the loan. That's truly, you're paying interest on the loan, telling the lender, hey, my credit score is this. I don't have 20% down. I'll pay for it. And if I foreclose, you get most of your money back. That's it.
And see, that was my thing. Like, it sounds like to me, private mortgage insurance is Freddie or Fannie or whoever the banks are. You pay them insurance to protect their investment in you. But if you foreclose, it's not like that insurance just pays them a policy and pays off your mortgage.
No, it's to ding you, and they could still come after you for whatever they want.
Man, that's a straight hustle. Yeah, you got $1 million in credit. I got a nice amount. Let's get a PMI. Let's see how we can set that up.
Now, but the thing about it is, PMI is not a bad thing, right? It's a good thing and bad thing. But if you have, once again, great credit, because your PMI is based on your credit score, debt to income, loan scenario, and all that.
Right.
I seen PMI at 5% down as low as $40 a month. So $40 times 12, less than 500 times 10 years.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. Once again, what is good credit for? It's like, I want to put 20% down. Why?
Yeah.
Why? That 15%, even if you put in the stock market, can grow for the next 10 years.
So if I want to get an investment property, though, like, what's the minimum amount?
Unfortunately, 20% is the minimum because the mortgage insurance companies, they don't want to insure if it's an investment property.
Oh, got it.
Because statistically, if it's an investment property, you're more likely to just let it go as opposed to your primary home if something were to happen to you.
So it's a bigger risk.
It's a bigger, 100% bigger risk.
Got it.
So,
what if you have like 3 of them already? Like, is there any way they can say, hey, this guy has...
No.
Nah, never.
They treated it
that break.
That's why
banks.
Hey, banks control the world until we know that. So
be careful. Don't go any further than banks control.
The world. We don't want to say
a lot of people have been in trouble.
Let's not do that. We don't want to shut down after episode 1.
Right.
But yeah. So if you just control your money, that's why people want to invest in property, right? But so instead of putting down 20, just put the minimum, and then you could keep buying a new primary home, right? Because you're buying a bigger house or bigger bedrooms or whatever, and just put the minimum as your primary home and build real estate that way. don't work the backwards way of putting down 20% and then save another 20%. Because how long will you take to save that money?
Yeah.
For me, it's going to take me, I don't know how long, right?
Yeah, you got to know yourself.
I got 2 girls. Whew, not even teenagers yet.
Yeah, man, the teenage years are coming. But hey, man, if people are more interested in like finding out about home mortgages, do they qualify? If they even have more questions than I asked you today, tell them where they can find you at.
Sure. It's www.goodfaithmortgages.com. Goodfaithmortgages.com.
Good Faith Mortgages and faith in the people we trust.
Yeah.
I like that, man. One last thing. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with people if they're thinking about buying or if they just want to put together a budget? Like, what would you tell a person out here that can help them financially?
Sure. Don't be afraid. Talk to a mortgage professional. Talk to a real estate professional. We're not going to sell you a house right now, but if you want to just see where you stand, just talk to a professional and see it. Get educated, but make sure that mortgage professional does educate you, right? Or that real estate professional educates you, because at the end of the day, we want you to help you long term and build wealth long term. And that's my goal. I mean, I don't know if that's your goal.
That's my goal. I mean, and I get it. I never want to have anybody feel like they're being pushed.
No.
But there's that one example, and here's my analogy. When I first learned how to swim, and I'm probably still not the greatest, but that's neither here nor there. The guy gave me instructions, right? Telling me, hey, this is what you do. You go in the water. Like, I'm here for you. And he just came behind me and shoved me in the water. And I was already close, but it was that little nudge. And so when I got in the water, I went crazy. I'm splashing, help, I'm drowning. And when I finally came up and could see the guy, he had the stick out there. I grabbed the stick and he just pulled me back in. And that right there was a perfect analogy for me when I'm helping people. Some people need a little nudge, but you have to be able to let them know that when you feel like you need support, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to push you out there and let you fend for yourself. I'm going to help you. I'm going to make sure you're calm and bring you back in so that, you can get what you desired in the first place.
100%.
Yep. So good. Well, hey, y'all, I appreciate everybody for coming to the show. Show number 1 here, and I appreciate my guests. And I thank the guys in the studio. Let's keep it going. And that's a wrap.